Okay, we're ready to get started. Okay.
Yep.
So today is April 29th, 2021, and I am Mayor Rachel Lyle-Smith, and I am calling the special meeting of the Oregon City Commission to order. Jacob, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Denise McGriff.
Present.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Here.
And Mayor Rachel Lyle-Smith.
Here. Okay, so today we're here to interview the applicants for the open City Commission position number 4. At the end of all the interviews, we can talk about how we're going to vote and kind of the logistics of that. We have our first applicant is in the waiting room and is ready to be brought over. Does everybody have your questions with our names on them? We're ready to go. Okay. All right, so it looks like Troy has joined us. Can you hear us? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we will get started. I'm turning up my own volume to make sure I can hear you. All right, and so we're just going to run through some questions, and so commissioners feel free to I think ask follow-up questions if there's something you want to follow up on. We have a set of 8 questions total, and I will start with the first one. The first question is, tell us about yourself, your governmental experience, community activities, and why you wish to serve.
Well, as you already know, my name is Troy Bollinger. I've been in Oregon City. Well, I lived here several years ago for a short period of time, but this time I lived here almost 10 years now. I have 2 kids here with me, and my governmental experience. Well, currently, I don't know if you call this government or not, but currently I'm the committee chair for PRAC, and I've been serving on PRAC for, I guess this is my 4th year now. Prior to PRAC, I was not immediately prior, but a couple of years prior to that, I was elected to the Oregon City School Board, so served there for 4 years. Also on the budget committee for Oregon City School District, served there for a little bit as well. So served pretty much when I moved into Oregon City in 2011. Pretty much right away, jumped in and served on various committees or boards. And then why I wish to serve, well, I think it speaks for itself that as soon as I moved in, I started off and started running, and I've always enjoyed serving in Oregon City and want to continue to contribute. And I've seen a lot of the work that's been done here in the City Commission with all of you, and I've worked with you on work sessions and different things with PRAC, and would love to continue that.
Okay, thank you. I think Rocky, you have the next question.
Right. What have you done to educate yourself about the issues facing the city of Oregon City, and how have you prepared yourself to assume the duties of city commissioner?
Well, I think it starts years prior. I've never been one that has done well at cramming for a final exam, and I certainly didn't read all the material that was provided to me last night or this morning. So, you know, that 181-page budget that was provided to me, I promise you, I did not start yesterday and finish it today. So, likewise, you know, keeping myself up to date with things, and my experience on PRAC, of course, and then watching city commission meetings. I'd be foolish if I told you I watched every single one of them from start to finish. I did not, but, you know, tuning in periodically over the years, and, you know, and keeping myself informed throughout time, of course, neighborhood associations, and different things like that on topics over the years, is definitely how I educate myself. Asking questions of people in the community. I'm a big listener, asking people what they think. and then listening to their opinions is how I educate myself. And then I think that's also preparing, because I think on any committee, but of course we're talking about the city commission, I believe you should be spending probably 75% of your time listening, and then 25% of your time taking action on what it is you heard.
Thank you.
So I have a two-part question. I'm going to ask you the first part, and then you can answer it, and then I'll ask you the second part.
Fair enough.
So what do you see as the three most important issues facing Oregon City over the next year and a half?
Homeless. I think homelessness is a big issue. Economic development and livability.
It was at three.
Those were three. Yep.
Do you have any suggestions for how Oregon City could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
I do. And when I read this question, I was glad you asked for suggestions and not answers, because when I think of homelessness, I don't know if anybody has the answer, but I think suggestions is probably the better way to approach this, because it's a big issue and it's growing. And I don't know that my suggestions are even ones, I mean, to be real truthful and transparent, I don't know how viable they are, because I think it's a big problem. And I think it's a fairly new problem to a lot of us in Oregon City. But even if you look at big cities, the size of it is new. Homelessness is not new, but the size of it, I think, is new. And maybe even the reasons it's growing are new. And so for us to think we have all the answers, I think is foolish. But some of the suggestions, I think, in a lot of ways needs to be collaboration. Again, asking questions, looking at some of the people that are running some of the different facilities that maybe have been in this area a long time, working together with our police, working together with some of the facilities, and just seeing what people need. And I think biggest suggestion I have in that area is talking to the individuals, the homeless people themselves. I think a lot of times we try to sit in this tower and figure out the answers, and we forget the people we're actually serving. And we need to actually get down and sit with them knee to knee, face to face, and ask them what they need, and then serve them with their needs, and meet those needs for them, and stop trying to solve their problems for them without even knowing what their problems are. Economic development, I think a big one, and one that I've been very interested in, and I think a lot of us are interested in, is the Mill Project, is the Heritage Project. That's a big one. And I served, as Rocky will tell you, Rocky and I served on the end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center on that board together, him representing the commission and me representing the school board. And so we were involved together on that for quite some time, for many years. Rocky, longer than I have. And it's something that I've been involved in a very long time, very interested in. Now the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde are holding the cards on that one. And I think it's in our best interest to collaborate with them. It's in their interest to collaborate with us as well. But there's a huge opportunity there. And then that, of course, expands into downtown. That project can't sit on an island. It needs to expand into downtown because they all connect. But then also we've got Thimble Creek, which is going to have some industry out there. And, those are kind of, I guess you could look at those as kind of the bookends to some extent, and then everything in between. And then you look at the livability. I would consider Thimble Creek part of that as the livability. And I think the city could benefit greatly in the relationship with Oregon City School District. I think that over the years has not been as strong as it could be. They're the largest employer in the city. And I'm not going to point fingers or say where that's fallen apart. But at the same time, I think it's something that it should be stronger on both ends. And so when you have stronger schools, And then, of course, the economic development, I think that improves your livability. And then I have to, of course, put a little bit of a plug in for our parks being on PRAC, that we have to look at improving our park system to make sure that we have parks in the appropriate areas. I think we have a number of parks, but we have to make sure they're in the right areas. So when we bring in the development in the different housing and whatnot at the appropriate price points, that we have parks to kind of help that development. So those are some of my suggestions.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Bollinger, my question kind of falls right behind Commissioner McGriff's question. Much of what you said about economic development will apply, but I will read it in two parts. You can have me reread the second if you so wish. So the question is, what is your knowledge of the overall economic health of Oregon City? That's the first part. And the second part, which I can reread, is what do you think that the city could do to promote economic development and oversee business development? So if you want, I'll restate the first part for you.
Well, and actually, I've got the questions in front of me, so I can.
Okay, good.
I've got them as well, so we're okay there. My knowledge of the overall economic health of Oregon City, I would say, I think overall we're good. I think we've got some areas in which we can improve, but I think that's probably true in any city, in any business, and I would say even in any household. So I don't look at that as anything that's frightening. I think overall we're good. What do I think that the city can do to promote economic development? I think it's collaboration. I think it's listening, because, and I don't want to say the same thing again, but the Heritage Project in downtown, I mean, that's big. But then of course, we can't do that all by ourselves, right? Because we've got, if that develops too big and too fast, then we're going to have some traffic issues, right? We're going to have some parking issues and different things too. So, and we can't solve all those by ourselves, because we don't control all of that. So we've got to do it at the right pace, and we got to do it the right way, and collaborating with other entities to make sure that works out the right way. And so I think that collaboration and listening is extremely important. And so I think that's what we could do: listening, talking. I have to say, and this is no secret to anybody, as we bring in the economic, as we look at economic development and we look at some tourism, big problem we have in Oregon City is hotels, lodging, right? So that has to be part of that plan. And then of course, we look at land and space. We can talk about it, but where do we put them, right? So the whole overall planning is something to consider there as well.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
The next question is, the City Commission may at times make decisions that may be unpopular with its residents. How would you address these concerns?
Well, as Rocky will tell you, I'm very familiar with people not liking decisions I've made. So I think a lot of that is, laying the groundwork. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I think you got to spend 75% of your time listening, and then you spend 25% of your time acting. And I think if you do that, that 25% of the time taking action is a whole lot easier, because you spent so much time listening and people feel that they are heard. And then when they don't get things done their way, they know at least they were listened to, and they know that at least you're doing what is best, even if it's not what they want. And then they can't fault you and blame you for not listening, because you did listen. And at least then they understand why you made the decisions you made, even when they're not popular. I think the problem is when you make a decision that people don't like, and then you have to go back and defend it and do a bunch of damage control, because nobody knows why you did what you did, and you didn't even talk to anybody or listen to anybody. Then you got a real problem. So I'm fine making decisions that people don't like or aren't happy with. But I think the best way to do that is make sure that you're listening to people, and not just opening your door, but inviting them in, like asking for their input, not just letting them know that you'll hear it when they want to talk. And so it makes those unpopular decisions at least a little easier to swallow.
All right. The next question is, Give examples of how you work or have worked to collaboratively on a project or issues.
Well, I would say what I've done in the city of Oregon City over time, as you've all have seen on my application that I submitted, I think all of that are good. All of those are good examples of that. All the time we've spent on the school board, I mean, all of that is collaborative. Whether we're talking about a policy that needs to be changed, or decisions we have to make, or setting direction for the district to move in, whether it's a curriculum implementation or adoption. As we're talking about things on PRAC, when we're talking about the Clackamat Park Master Plan, as we've done in work sessions with all of you, all of that, asking questions, giving feedback, listening to feedback. I mean, you know me, all of us together, the 5 of us here on the screen have all sat together, asked questions and talked about things. And you have all witnessed many times I sit for many minutes, sometimes hours, and just listen and take notes, and then maybe say a few things and ask some questions, spending a lot of time listening and a little bit of time sharing and talking. And then in the end, we all have to make a decision together. I think that's been pretty evident over the decade I've spent here.
Thank you.
What would you say your strengths are and your weaknesses, and what would you be bringing to the city commission?
Well, I think strengths I have is I listen. I listen and I encourage citizens to share. We always get a number of citizens that do share, but it seems like they're always the same ones. And I think it's because the rest of them, either they're afraid to speak in public, or they're afraid that their comments fall on deaf ears and they won't be heard. But I certainly encourage people to always share. So I don't just listen when they want to speak, I encourage them to speak. Because I really honestly do believe that that things aren't going to change and people aren't going to get what they need in a community unless they share. Where we don't know what you want unless you tell us what you want. And I think that's one thing I bring. The other thing I bring is I'm bold. I have no problem telling people how I feel, sharing my opinions. And I guess along with that, the other side of that, to go into the weaknesses, I know sometimes people don't like to hear that. Now, if the nice thing about having recorded meetings, you can always go back and you can see where Troy's been bold, and some people get upset with that and they might get offended by that. But you can also look at that recording and you'll notice that I never raise my voice at them, and I never attack a person's character, and I never call them names, and I never say mean things. I just may say, I just may speak up, and some of the people just don't want to hear that. But I'm bold. I will share what needs to be shared. And I think that's a strength, because I'm not afraid to sit back. I won't sit back and just let things happen. I will speak up, and I will speak up for the people, and I will speak up for maybe those that aren't speaking up.
I'll continue on with the 8th and final question, Mr. Bollinger. You have it in front of you, as you said, but is there anything else you would like us to know? And do you have any questions of us?
Anything I want you to know? I don't think there's anything I want you to know. I mean, you've all seen me. You all know who I am. And we've all worked together. So I think there's a lot of unspoken things that you have all experienced working side by side. And And so I think other than the questions and the answers I've given today, you all know about me. I will say that you guys have a tough choice. I've seen the interviews you guys are going to have tonight, and there's a lot of good people in this community. And you guys, you all do a good job, and I'd be privileged to work next to you. And there's a lot of good people here. I do feel a little bit like I'm on the virtual American Idol looking for 3 yeses. So just don't ask me to sing, and I won't ask you to sing, and I think we'll be okay. But I appreciate your time. And if you don't have any questions for me, I think I'm okay.
Very good.
I don't have any problem singing, and I have never, ever watched American Idol, so I don't know what you were talking about.
I would sing with you, Denise. It's just something about singing to my own laptop. It's just, I don't know, it's something different.
Well, before this meeting deteriorates further, I'm going to turn it back to the Mayor, Lyle Smith.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Bollinger. We appreciate you interviewing and submitting your application. And as you know, we'll be making a decision hopefully tonight with oath of office tomorrow. So thanks for participating.
All right, thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night. All right, we'll give Troy a chance to exit. All right, so it looks like we have Adam. This is Adam Marl, our second applicant. An interview for this evening. Adam, you can unmute yourself. I just want to make sure you can hear us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. All thumbs up from the group. So I think we'll get started. We have 8 questions. It sounds like the questions were provided to you. So I will get started. I have the first question. So tell us about yourself, your governmental experience, community activities, and why do you want to serve?
Well, good evening, Commissioners and Mayor Lyle Smith. My name is Adam Marl. I have lived in Oregon City for my entire life. I attend church here. I graduated from our public schools in 2018, and consequently, I'm about to graduate with my degree in politics and communications from Willamette University in just a few weeks. On top of being a student, I guess you could say that I am a reluctant community organizer. Apart from leading last year's recall campaign, I'm in the middle of working my second session as a paid staffer at the Oregon State Legislature. The year before, I was an unpaid intern. I've worked for 2 Clackamas County commissioners. I've worked on various campaigns for people who were previously involved in local government, which includes the former mayor of Happy Valley, former Lake Oswego city councilor, and the state rep that I work for is a former planning commissioner for the city of Redmond. And they've all been great mentors for me. They've helped me learn the ins and outs of local government. And these connections have also allowed me to create relationships with a lot of our regional partners. Throughout middle and high school, I volunteered with my church as a Sunday school teacher. I grew up doing service projects across the community, usually at our public schools. And I was honored to be named Mr. OC during Oregon City High School's annual Pioneer Pageant fundraiser. And to the last point, I wish to serve because I would bring a unique perspective that is not currently represented on this commission. As a young person, I have a direct stake in the future of this city. And it's time for a fresh perspective because the issues facing our city are not calling for solutions from the past. They're calling for dynamic and creative solutions. But my perspective as a young person, I'll say, it doesn't mean that I don't have the experience to get the job done, which is a valid concern. I believe I have a proven track record of community involvement, not just from last year, but from a lifetime in Oregon City. I love this community. And if there's something I can do to give back to the community that's given me so much, I want to do it.
Thank you.
Adam, I was trying to remember if I was a judge on that. I've been a judge for Pioneer Pageant many years, off and on. So I don't know that I was a judge on that year that you were doing it, but that's cool. So my question, what have you done to educate yourself about the issues facing Oregon City, and how have you prepared yourself to assume the duties of a city commissioner?
So over the past year, I have been talking to Oregon City residents of all stripes, all backgrounds, hearing their concerns and their vision for our future. Look, applying for a commission seat was never the plan. That was not the impetus for those conversations in the first place, but they have been incredibly helpful and would continue to inform me if I were to be selected. And after that, I've been fortunate enough to have established friendships and relationships with a lot of these people, and I've been able to talk to them in depth about these issues facing our city. On top of that, I regularly tune into city commission meetings, or I watch the recordings on YouTube. I keep up with the local news, which is so essential for a thriving local government. And I have a front row seat to many of the actions being taken at the state level in the legislature, which inevitably makes its way down to the city commission. As you know, I hosted a candidate forum for the special mayoral election a few months back, and I think it was pretty clear that my questions reflected a knowledge of the issues that people might not expect from a 20-year-old. As far as preparedness goes, I recognize that there will be a considerable time commitment on my part, which is great because I thrive off of being busy. I'm just going to take it back to high school for a second. There were some days where I had to bring a breakfast, lunch, and dinner because of all of my engagements that I had. And college has been no different. And despite these time commitments, I've been able to maintain straight A's, which I think demonstrates my ability to budget my time, and I do my homework. And lastly, the greatest preparation for this position is a lifetime in Oregon City. I treasure our unique history and our character, which was so formative for me during my childhood. And moving forward, I want to see that unique character and history as a driving force for more opportunities as we continue to grow and expand according to changing demands.
Thank you.
I have the next one. So what do you see as the 3 most important issues facing Oregon City over the next year and a half? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
Right. So I would have to say that my first issue is tolling. Our office in the legislature is actually co-sponsoring the bill to prohibit congestion pricing on I-205. That would be HB 2629. And that bill has unfortunately died in committee, but if selected, I would work with our state partners to find a better way forward. Look, nobody in Oregon City wants tolling, and whenever we do return to normalcy, a lot of white collar workers are going to be continuing to work from home, while lower income folks are going to be crossing that bridge on their commute, and that makes this an equity issue. It's also going to be hurting our burgeoning tourism sector, and that's another thing that needs to be taken into account. I just want to say I appreciate the 4 of you for defending our interests whenever ODOT is willing to send their brave people to come speak in front of you. But I will say I think it's time for us to go to them. I know my way around Salem, and I believe that would be a huge asset as we find a path forward that won't result in such a damaging policy. The next one I would say is civic engagement. I was so thrilled to see the increase in civic engagement last year. But unfortunately, it seems as though that energy has already died off. As a community organizer, I would like to make local government more accessible for those who don't want to watch a 3-hour city commission meeting. And as an example, I subscribe to Lake Oswego Mayor Joe Buck's newsletter, and in it he distills a lot of their city actions, and I think that would be a great thing to do, especially as a student of communication and media. So I would also like for us to establish a youth council, just as many of our neighbors have done. In fact, when I worked for the mayor of Happy Valley, she would always tell me that one of her proudest accomplishments was instituting their youth council. So we have plenty of people to ask about best practices and how to move forward on that one. And lastly, I would say affordable housing. Housing has been an issue in Oregon City for a while to anyone who's been paying attention. There were actually several candidates for mayor at the beginning who reached out to me and asked what I saw as the biggest issue facing the city, and I'd always say housing. I've worked a lot on this issue at the state level since the representative that I work for is a realtor and was vice chair of the housing committee. That's also why I'm writing my senior thesis on the state housing crisis. The American Rescue Plan funding presents so many opportunities for the city, and housing definitely needs to be a priority in those conversations, especially as it relates to those at risk of eviction and foreclosure once the moratoriums and the grace repayment periods are lifted. So those are my 3.
Thank you.
Mr. Morrow, I'll read the fourth question. And that question, which you have before you, is what is your knowledge of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think that the city could do to promote economic development and overall business development?
Thank you. So obviously, with the recent change in risk level, our businesses are going to be suffering. And the pandemic has definitely halted a lot of our recent economic growth. I've alluded to this earlier, but Oregon City is completely different from the Oregon City of my childhood. You just have to look to Main Street to see that, in our small business community. But the residents of Oregon City are resilient, and we're going to recover. We're going to get through this. But as far as the role of the city government goes, I think that one of the most important things is to invest in those critical tech and infrastructure investments that are going to be very attractive to business looking at planting their roots in our community. We also have to be diligent about future developments, making sure that they won't unduly harm our existing small business community during this recovery period.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I was typing notes and forgot I had the next question. Next one is the city commission may at times make decisions that may be unpopular with its residents. It's pretty much a guarantee. So how would you address these concerns?
Right. Well, the first step is to listen, especially to those with whom I may disagree. At the end of the day, we should be able to recognize that we all want what's best for Oregon City. We may just have different opinions on how to get there. Finding common ground has been the hallmark of my involvement in local government. And I would use that skill to bring together various stakeholders together for productive dialogue. But in short, it comes down to making sure that people feel heard and respected. And when those tough decisions are made, I have the fortitude to stand behind them. And just as an example, I did it last year when keeping to my values on one campaign almost cost me my paying job on another.
All right. Let's see here. Give examples of how you work and how you have worked collaboratively on projects or issues.
So you won't be surprised, but the most salient example is the recall. Everyone on my executive team disagreed with me on pretty much every issue apart from the recall itself. And even then, we often had very different ideas on how to run that campaign. But it was important for me to surround myself with people who would constantly challenge my ideas. And in the end, that made us stronger. And I think this demonstrates my willingness to work with anyone, especially considering the fact that everyone on my team was much more established in their adulthood, I guess, than me. And they were looking to me as their leader, which was very daunting at first. I made it a priority to learn each of their strengths. And then I allowed them to take center stage when their skills clearly exceeded my own. And despite all of the naysayers, Oregon City made history last November, and it was an honor just to be a small part of that.
Thank you.
So what strengths would you bring to the commission, and what do you feel are your weaknesses?
Right, so I've talked about this a lot, but I think my greatest strength is my ability to bring people together and seek compromise. I've demonstrated this time and again throughout my involvement in government and politics, and I would continue that if I had the honor of being appointed. When I first announced on Facebook my intention to seek this vacancy, the people cheering me on came from very different backgrounds and beliefs. And I think that's a testament to the work that I've done over the years in my community with people who might not come from similar backgrounds. And when I interact with people who are on the polar opposite of an issue from me, I don't see those differences as dividing us. I see them as differences that make us more complete, more whole. And for the second part of the question, I worry a lot. I like to go over things with a fine-tooth comb. I think about the possible outcomes of a situation, and sometimes that can hinder my ability to move quickly.
So for the final question, Mr. Morrow, which you have before you. Is there anything else you would like us to know? And do you have any questions of us?
Well, I guess I would just say that I understand what would be expected of me heading into this, and I know that I'll have to hit the ground running if selected. Fortunately, like I've said, I do my homework. Yes, I'm young, but I more than make up for that with my knowledge and love of this community. The four of you got to know me last year because I'd appear before you at City Commission meetings, and now I want to continue my advocacy on the other side of the dais. Oh, and Commissioner Smith, I was hoping you'd ask, but if I were to choose a song describing my vision for Oregon City in the next 5 to 10 years, I would say it would be No More Drama by Mary J. Blige.
Thank you for that.
And again, I'll turn it back over to Mayor Lyle Smith.
And I do know that song.
Yeah, that's funny. So for those of you who don't know, that was a question. That was a surprise question, I guess, submitted by Commissioner Smith in the mayoral forum that Adam hosted. And I think it was like the hardest question of the whole evening was, this out of the blue ask about a song. Not where my mind was at, obviously the radio top 40 or anything. So we got some interesting answers. It was a lot of fun.
Song or movie. So you had flexibility there.
All right. So sorry to have to turn my camera off. I promised I was listening. I was carrying my laptop. My husband decided that now was the time to mow the front yard. And so I needed to make sure I moved so that I could hear and participate, but I did hear the whole thing. And so thank you for participating. And we're going to deliberate tonight and hopefully have a decision, and we'll go from there. So thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have just like a minute or two?
Sure.
Okay, I'm just going to turn, because I'm going to eat something. I'm going to turn my camera off.
You can go ahead and turn your camera off. We can get started because yeah, this is dinner hour. Yeah, we have to get, Denise has a few minutes before she has to read her question to get a bite to eat. So, all right, so we are moving along actually just fine on our schedule. I see Bob LaSalle has made it to our room. Bob, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so, all right, perfect. I always like to check the audio first, make sure it's all working. So as you probably know, we have a set of 8 questions. We're just going to run through those questions. Yeah, and we'll get started. So the first question I have for you is to ask you to tell us about yourself, your governmental experience, community activities, and why you wish to serve.
All right. I'm retired from the heating and ventilating and air conditioning business after 45 years working with the tools and in management. I managed the largest heating oil service department west of the Mississippi River with 22 technicians, 8 installers, and 5 office personnel. And then concurrently, I had a career of 25 years in the Oregon Army National Guard and Army Reserves. Joined the Oregon City National Guard unit when I was still in high school, and served several years as an enlisted man, and then went to Officers Candidate School and got my commission, and eventually commanded units up to 250 personnel. Well, that was pretty exciting, I'll tell you. I'm currently chair of the Citizens Involvement Committee. I'm serving on and the immediate past chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee, served on the Transportation System Plan Committee, the South End Concept Plan Committee, the Sign Code Update Committee, and am the immediate past chair of the Park Place Neighborhood Association. And I also served on various HVAC industry boards and committees. I want to serve on the City Commission because Oregon City is kind of my adopted home. When I moved here about, 14, 15 years ago, I had no idea I'd fall in love with the city, but I certainly have. I think that being an outsider, I might appreciate Oregon City more than possibly people born and raised here, because I have a reference of living in other areas. And believe me, Oregon City outshines them all. It's a great, great city. And I'd like to have the opportunity to make a difference here and see the city grow in a responsible manner, keeping the hometown feel and taking advantage of modern developments. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have the next question, and that is, what have you done to educate yourself about the issues facing Oregon City, and how have you prepared yourself to assume the duties of a city commissioner?
Well, I've worked hard on that. I feel I've kind of paid my dues. Over the years, I've attended or watched most of the city commission and planning commission meetings. And as most of you probably know, in 2014, I actually ran for mayor and had a pretty good showing for a political novice. But at that time, I spent about 16 hours studying the city budget. And so far this year, I've spent about 6 hours going over the proposed budget that we have before us. And then I also watched your recent marathon meeting in regard to commission goals. And that was a long night, of course, but I've been studying those as well to be prepared to tackle that subject after the budget has been determined.
Thank you.
So what do you see as the three most important issues facing Oregon City over the next year and a half? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges, or if there are opportunities?
Well, you certainly have a nice weather for your meeting tonight at your home, Denise. One of the things that I feel is important is the I-205 tolling issue. I don't think enough effort has been put forth to get ODOT to consider different tolling sites. Considering the restricted transportation system surrounding the Abernathy Bridge, they couldn't have picked a worse site if they tried. And I think pressure just needs to be brought to bear to ODOT on that issue. Another issue is the proposed Oregon City West Lynn Bike Ped Bridge. And that's a bit of a sticky issue. I haven't seen any reason why the proposed expansion of the I-205 bridge couldn't accommodate that. And also, is there a need and who asked for it? I would like to have answers to those questions. I really don't have an answer on how to solve this one. The third item that I think is important is getting business back on track once the COVID-19 crisis has passed. I think some city codes, such as the banner restrictions, could be temporarily waived for a specified period of time to get the word out that businesses are open and welcome. Those are my three issues.
Okay, Mr. LaSalle, I've got the fourth question. What is your knowledge of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think that the city could do to promote economic development and overall business development?
Generally, the economic health of Oregon City is good. COVID-19 has obviously affected many business owners, but I feel confident that they'll bounce back once this crisis is over. The city government is in good shape fiscally. Of course, we could always use more money, but we're restricted there. But the city is well managed by the city commission, the city manager, and the department heads. So we're in good shape. The city, I think, should make every effort to make it easier to do business in Oregon City, such as shortening the permitting process.
Frank, it looked like your connection froze. Are you're here with us?
Yeah.
Frank, you're muted.
I'm I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
My screen froze momentarily. I'll leave it to Mr.
Oh.
LaSalle if he wants to repeat it or if I get his answer from the other commissioners.
You want me to repeat that answer?
Allow me to get it from my fellow commissioners. I don't want
Oh,
to.
okay. Okay, fine.
Yes, my screen did freeze up. So I'll pass the baton to our mayor.
Thanks. Our next question, Bob, is the city commission may at times make decisions that may be unpopular with its residents. How would you address these concerns?
Well, unpopular decisions kind of go with the territory, but that's what you get the big bucks for, right? Seriously, all you can do is explain the fiscal restrictions and city codes and hope that that helps. Of course, encouraging citizen participation also helps a lot. That's the best answer I can give you for that one.
All right. Can you give us examples of how you work or have worked collaboratively on a project or issue?
Yeah, you betcha. The most recent example is getting the code changed for the CIC and enacting its new bylaws. Well, that was a major task that took several people working together, several months of planning, and the consideration, understanding, and cooperation of the city commission. I started working on that before I even once again became a member of the CIC because its organization kind of concerned me. Another example is the crosswalk improvements on Holcomb Boulevard. I was a major pusher on that, and we've got them done. We haven't got them done, but they're in the works, so we're real happy up there in that neighborhood. During my management career in the HVAC industry, I had to work in cooperation with and coordination with other department heads, businesses, and industry associations. And then on top of all that, I had to satisfy the business owner. So it's a combination of a whole bunch of factors involved in that management career there. That's my answers for that question.
Thank you.
What are the strengths that you would bring to the city commission, and what do you feel are your weaknesses?
Well, one of my strengths is a highly developed skill in decision-making. Maintaining an unbiased opinion until all the facts are presented is the most important. And my training and experience allow me to do that. Decision-making is a big thing in both the military and civilian management. I also bring a sense of cooperation and consideration of what's best for the whole in any given situation. And I'm not afraid to change my mind or opinion given new facts. One of my weaknesses is impatience with people who don't get the job done in a timely manner when given proper direction. Drives me nuts. And deadlines are deadlines. If you can't make the deadline, you shouldn't be where you're at. I get a little excited about that one. Thank you.
We may all get excited about that one, Mr. LaSalle.
Does that have anything to do with the military?
Well, all I can say is that when I was a company commander, if I didn't get the job done, I wouldn't have lasted in that position very long.
Well, the only reason I ask is because I was raised in a military family and I know that particular drill.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, it's although, you know, my time in the military helped me immeasurably in my personal life. I was so glad that I went for my commission and became a commissioned officer, because then that allowed me to work with a whole bunch of different kinds of people and just to get the job done in cooperation with all kinds of different people. It was very, very rewarding.
Well, Mr. LaSalle, you may have furnished part of the answer to the final question, which is Is there anything else you would like us to know? And do you have any questions of us?
Well, considering my knowledge of city government and my proven leadership and decision-making skills, I think I'm your best choice. Of course, I have paid my dues over the years, and not only that, but I have a sense of humor. Every once in a while, you got to have a little humor, although I have been derided for that one joke I said, and I apologize for that. I'll try to make them better in the future. In fact, I guarantee I'll make them better in the future.
That would be good.
That's what. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, sir. And once again, I'll turn it back to Mayor Lyle Smith.
Thank you. And thank you, Bob, for participating tonight. And I really appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, we're going to deliberate a little bit later and hopefully make a decision quickly and have an oath of office tomorrow. So again, thanks for participating. And
Thank you.
till we see you again.
Okay, good night.
Night.
Right.
Mayor Lyle Smith, I need 1 second. My pencil has run out of lead, unfortunately, but I have one right just off screen here for a second.
That's fine. We have a few minutes.
Okay.
Steve Vance is coming on, but yeah, go ahead and resupply, get water, whatever, food.
And I'll say to everybody, I'm always paying attention. I have my head down oftentimes taking notes, so I'm listening.
Commissioner McGriff, just let me know whenever you're good to go. Okay, you're good. All right, so it looks like we have our next applicant, Mr. Vance Tong. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Can you hear me? I just want to check audio.
I can hear you fine, Mayor.
Okay, great. And you as well. So I believe you've been given the questions. We have 8 questions. We're just going to go round table. We'll go through the questions and pretty simple. So I have the first question. It's tell us about yourself, your government experience, community activities, and why you wish to serve.
Well, first, excuse me, I want to say thanks for selecting me for the interview here. I've met a couple of you before. I know Commissioner McGriff and I believe Mayor Smith. We've met before, probably just briefly, but I moved here in 2014, and I really have enjoyed my time here in Oregon City, and I've tried to get involved when and where I can. I served on the Transportation Advisory Committee with Bob LaSalle, who I saw was a previous person there, and I've also served on the Government Economic Affairs Committee for the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, and currently chair the Clackamas County Economic Development Committee. As for why I want to serve, is I just feel that serving as a city commissioner would be the next step for me in terms of how I can give back to the community that I call home here. Although I don't have direct government experience, because quite frankly, as a member of the Fourth Estate, that's a bit of a conflict of interest. If I'm supposed to be the person who's watching the government, it's hard to be a member of the government at the same time. But my job now is not involved with reporting anymore. So I feel like I can do this sort of a service without a conflict.
All right. What have you done to educate yourself about the issues facing Oregon City, and how have you prepared yourself to assume the duties of a city commissioner?
I suspect, like far too many people, I don't attend every public meeting that's available, but I like to keep informed as best I can, and obviously do that largely through local news. Since I work for Pamplin Media Group, I have a direct funnel. And then I also, like I said, I get involved where I can, try to talk to people as much as I can, when I'm not doing my job. And then I just feel like there are big issues out there that everybody thinks about, whether it's tolling or COVID or something, but I think there's smaller issues that need to be addressed as well. And so I think about those a lot, and what the city could do to make Oregon City a better place. An example would be street trees, which was a recent issue with the ice storms and everything. And I've given a lot of thought to that. Is it something that I'm passionate about? No, but I think it's something that's important for the city. And I think it's something that we could work for. But in terms of preparing myself, I just think I've done a lot of research about what's going on in the city and around, and I feel I could contribute.
Thank you.
Well, then tell us what you think that is going on in Oregon City, and what do you think are the three most important issues facing Oregon City over the next year and a half? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges, and if there are opportunities?
Can you ask a longer question? I'm just asking.
This was the shortened version of the question.
No, that was the shortened one. I think one of the biggest issues facing is how we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen the impact it's had on residents and businesses. And while there's, a variety of different things, whether it's funding mechanisms, I just think leadership in and of itself is an important part of what the city does. And communicating to the residents about what they should be doing, in terms of how we can be a healthier society, and then also what is being done tangibly, to help people with the challenges they face as a result of the COVID pandemic. Secondly, I think Oregon City is going to have to continue to find ways to address the housing crisis. I moved here in 2014, and while I'm grateful that my modest little townhouse has nearly doubled in value, that's just ridiculous. And it's going to make it hard for us to have housing for our residents when it's priced so astronomically, and we don't have a business community that can provide jobs that can pay for housing like that. So I think finding a way to encourage affordable housing, and then to go along with that, encourage more business development in the city of Oregon City so that people can afford the more expensive housing. And then along those lines, I think probably the last thing has to do with finding a way to, in Oregon City's economic future, to craft a business community that's less reliant on transportation. We've seen tolling is a major issue on many people's minds. And as much as I am opposed to the tolling as it's proposed by ODOT, I think we have to prepare ourselves that what if it happens? What are we going to do, and how are we going to make the best of that situation? So I think one of the things we can do is find a way to encourage more virtual, remote business opportunities. I'm fortunate in that I have a job where I don't have to go to the office if I don't need to. I enjoy going to the office at least a couple days of the week, but I'm not necessarily the norm when it comes to that sort of business. So.
Okay, Mr. Tong, I will ask you the fourth question, which you have before you. And what is your knowledge of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think that the city could do to promote economic development and overall business development?
I feel like a lot of my answers have been overlapping each other here.
They do.
I think as far as the Oregon City's economic health, I think the Oregon City is in good economic position, like many cities has had its share of challenges, but I think you guys have been good stewards of the city's funds. But I think in terms of moving forward, like I said, I think finding ways to encourage remote businesses, and as was outlined in your proposed goals, I think finding a way to get fiber optic connectivity throughout the city would be a huge, huge goal. I know when Commissioner Humberston was in office for the county, that was one of his goals for the entire county. I don't think it's something we should give up on, and I think it's something that's really important, not only for our residents, but what a great way to encourage businesses if you can say, every place here in Oregon City, you get fiber connectivity. It's just part of the way that is here. That would be huge. So I think that would be a great thing for the future of Oregon City business.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Okay. The city commission may at times make decisions that may be unpopular with its residents. How would you address these concerns?
As a former newspaper editor, I've never made a decision that was unpopular. I've had that. I mean, I've had everything from readers walking into me and saying, and I will never forget this. I had a lady ask me once, and if I was the person who had redesigned the newspaper, and I said yes, and she says, "Can I just say God bless you?" And it took me by surprise. And then I also have had the exact opposite end of the spectrum where I wrote an editorial and was accused of twisting God's holy word. So I've heard it all. And the thing I found is that even in the worst cases, most of the time, if I let people talk to me and if I let them express how they feel and why they feel, at the end of the day, we may still not agree, but they at least feel like they've had some input. They've been able to get their point across. And I think that's important. So in terms of making hard decisions, in my career, I've made tons of hard decisions. And like I said, if I let people know as much as I can ahead of time that, hey, there's a difficult decision coming down the pike and you need to be prepared for it. And if you have input, here's how to provide it. We'll take it into account, and you just have to deal with the rest. You're never going to make everybody happy, as I'm sure you're aware, but you can do your best to make them feel like they were part of the process.
All right, we're on question 6. Give examples of how you work or how you have worked collaboratively on a project or issues.
Again, with my service on various commissions, I've done things like when I was on the Oregon Newspaper Publishers Association, I worked collaboratively with other publishers across the state, and we helped pass legislation that protected public notices in newspapers. And then I've done things, currently I'm chairing 2 committees in our company, one that's going to determine the future of our content management system for the company, and the other, quite frankly, is to determine the future of our company as a whole and what our business model is going to be. So in both cases, and in others as well, again, it comes down to trying to find a diverse group of people who are going to provide good input, who are going to be knowledgeable about the subjects, and then getting those opinions. And then for me, having a tangible goal, at the end, I'm not a person who wants to have meetings just for the sake of having meetings. So I like having, a meeting with a group of people and saying, okay, we're going to meet, we're going to listen to these things, we're going to make these decisions. It may take another meeting, it may take more, but here's our outcome: is we need to come up with a decision that is going to resolve this question. So.
Thank you.
What strengths would you bring to the city commission, and what are your weaknesses?
Well, it may sound ridiculous, but I think the biggest weakness I would bring is I've never been a city commissioner before. And I've probably attended more city council meetings than probably all of you combined through my career as a reporter, but I've never sat in the chair. And I understand that that's a completely different perspective from where you guys are at versus where I had been earlier in my career. But as far as my strengths, again, I think my strengths are being able to analyze situations, take input, make a decision, and move on. I'm not one who wants to belabor things any longer than they have to. I want to get the information that we need. I want to make a decision, and then I also want to go back and look at that decision after the fact, after it's been implemented, and say, is the decision we made the right one? And I'm not afraid to say, wow, with the data we have now, no, we need to change that. And I'm perfectly willing to admit that sometimes we make decisions, or I make decisions that in hindsight maybe weren't the best thing. But being able to pivot on those points and move in a new direction as needed, I think is a strength that I bring.
Well, we'll have to discuss who's attended the more meetings. Because I have a career in local government and I've been to thousands of meetings.
I was specific. I said city council meetings.
Oh, yeah, city council meetings. Yes, we'll discuss. Thank you.
I might remind Commissioner McGriff, she already has a position on the commission. You don't have to interview tonight. The final question is there anything else that you would like us to know? And do you have any questions of us?
Well, I think one thing I want to make clear to you is my decision to do this, quite frankly, was because I saw a story in the local newspaper that they were looking for people to fill this position. And it was just kind of a, wow, I think I should try for this. I value my time both at work and at home. So this isn't a decision I take lightly. It's something that I want to do. It's something that I want to be involved in. And quite frankly, if you choose to go with one of the other very qualified candidates, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be involved in other things. I'll find some other commission or some other group and, throw my hat in the ring there and, see if that fits. I did 3 years on the Transportation Advisory Committee and decided that it wasn't the best fit for me, but I was happy to do it, and I would encourage other people to do it. As far as questions I have for you, I guess, what do you feel like? Do you feel that there's a hole that you're needing to fill? I mean, is there a group, a type of expertise or a personality that you feel you're lacking on the commission as it presently is comprised?
Well, since I'm asking the question, I'll respond to that. I don't feel that there's a hole. I actually feel this is a very strong commission with a cross section of experience and perspectives, and very diverse in its composition. I know what we do like to see is someone capable of working as a team member. But as far as I do not see a hole, and I see a waving hand by Commissioner McGriff, and the 3-minute clock. You don't want to speak further?
I think it was a bug.
Yeah, she was swatting a bug, a fly.
I guess the last thing I would say is, I mean, I can't tell from the pictures I can see here, but I would warn you ahead of time that if selected, you'll probably see a lot of Oregon State Beaver shirts, because I'm a Beaver through and through.
That's a good thing. Okay, thank you, sir. I'm going to turn it back over to Mayor Lyle Smith.
We're nonpartisan as far as schools are concerned.
Oh, I'll believe that when I see it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, and thank you for interviewing. And he's gone. Okay, so we have our last applicant to interview this evening, and that is Mr. Leslie Wright Jr. I see he's been added. Mr. Wright, you can turn on your video and unmute yourself, and let's check your audio and make sure we can hear you.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, so it's good to see you tonight. And I think you're aware that we have 8 questions, and we're just gonna do a roundtable of asking you questions. It'll be fairly short and sweet probably. And then, you know, we're gonna deliberate tonight and move this along pretty quickly. So I think we're gonna with that, I'll get started now that we know for sure that your audio works. All right, so tell us about yourself, your governmental experience, community activities, and why you wish to serve.
Well, I was Madam Mayor, the council. I lived in Wisner, Louisiana, born there. My childhood was there. And I later moved to Monroe, Louisiana, where I spent my young teenage age there. That's when I got some sense about life. From there, I moved from there to the United States Marine Corps. I finished high school at Washita Parish High School. I went straight to the Marine Corps. I didn't have time to even think good. Went straight to the Marine Corps. Marine Corps taught me a lot of values. It gave me a lot of discipline. And that discipline had lasted me up until today's date, until right now. Now, my government experience, I got a lot of it. I mean, I have been trained in every way you can think of. I've had desert warfare training in 29 Palms, California. I had mountain warfare training in the Aleutian Islands. I've had cold weather training down in Bridgeport, California. I have, we did mountain warfare training in Bridgeport. So that part is good. Now, for as my government experience, I was commandant for the whole Marine Corps League in the Seattle area. I was the command sergeant major of Vancouver, Washington. I have been, I've done a lot. I've been on Homeland Security. I have been on numerous of disasters out here, and we came through. So that's basically a little bit about me. Anything else?
Do you have a particular reason of why you want to serve?
I can make a difference. I can make a huge difference. And I believe with all my heart, and I'm speaking, and I'm not looking at no paper. I want y'all to understand, this is coming from me. When I speak from the heart. I don't speak from something that's written down. I can make a big difference in the city of Oregon City, believe me, because it all comes from here. It's called mindset. If you believe in yourself, you can do anything.
Okay. Commissioner Smith, do you have the next question?
All right. The second question is, what have you done to educate yourself about the issues facing the city of Oregon City, and how have you prepared yourself to assume the duties of city commissioner?
I have watched you guys numerous of times on video. Rachel, Madam Mayor, you guys, I have watched you over it. And basically the topics are basically the same almost. The sidewalks, the trees. Oh, you know, I listen very well and I watch you guys very, very much so. But see, the most important thing is the homeless people. We need to do something about that. Anything else, sir?
Unless you have something. No, there's plenty of other questions, but and they'll overlap, I think, maybe a little bit, but Who's the next
Commissioner McGriff is next.
question?
What do you see as the three most important issues facing Oregon City over the next year and a half? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges? And are there any opportunities?
Yes, ma'am. Get those kids back in school and keep them in school. Because if we don't keep those kids in school, and the teachers, make sure they get their heart right. Because number one, most of them don't even want to go back to work. That's what it seemed like to me. You know, but we have to get those kids in school. Now, the second issue, I'm going right back to the same thing. If we get those homeless people off this street, we can open up the parks. And that's the third thing, is the park area. We can open the parks up. We can do so much more, because it means a lot to the people of Oregon City. They don't want to see trash all over the place. And listen, don't think that I'm down on the homeless people like that. I'm not. I'm here to help. I'm here to do what I can to make sure that they are well taken care of. And by us taking care of them, we're taking care of ourselves. You understand what I'm saying, Madam Commissioner? The people need this. They don't want to go to a park and stepping in defecation and needles and trash. And the most important thing, we get those homeless people off the street. The park's gonna open up, and we're gonna bring new businesses into Oregon City. Believe me, they'll come.
Do you have any suggestions on how we could work on the homeless issue?
Yes, ma'am, without a doubt. What I like to do is propose an apartment complex. Now, where the money gonna come from? That's what we're gonna be working on that, because I'm gonna go to everybody out there, for us, the federal government, state, county, everybody. Because see, I grant you, I was on a board ship, and we had small spaces to live in. Now, let's go back a little bit. The Japanese people, they have apartment complexes with little rooms. All that homeless person needs is a nice little room he can stay in, a warm bed, and something he can live in, and have his own address. This apartment complex can have everything that you can want there. A job lottery. It can have a place where they can take showers and convenience stores right in that one complex. Now, if we decide to do this, if you decide to do this, because I'm not in yet, hopefully. But if we decide to do this, it can be a great mold for other cities all over the United States. I know it'll work, but we got to work together and pull together to make it work. Now the parks, it all depends on number two. Now the communities can help with all the parks. The communities can go out and you give them a park to deal with, and they can take care of that park. Clean it up, get it all squared away, and we can help. And we ain't got to spend a lot of money doing it. Now, the people who don't abide by the rules of the city of Oregon City, when they go to jail, put them out there and let them clean up those parks. This is what we have to do. Now, if we can't do, listen, Madam Mayor, in the committee, I'm here to make a difference. And I might be a little bit loud or forceful, I don't know how you might want to say it, but I'm real. We can get this done. Well, we got to put out 100% to get it done. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not here to sit down and just watch. I'm here to make a difference.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell, I think you have the next question.
I do. The next question is kind of going to break it down in two parts. What is your knowledge of the overall economic health of Oregon City?
Well, I know this. The restaurants need help. The COVID has almost destroyed every restaurant in this city. We need to find a way to bring them back. Find a way to do whatever it takes to get the city back up and running in that perspective.
And Mr. Wright, I think you're actually moving into the second part of the question, which is what do you think that the city could do to promote economic development and overall business development?
Well, advertise. You advertise. I'm a businessman. So you take what you have now go right back to the homeless again. If we can get those homeless people off the street, we can advertise all over the city of Oregon and bring in new businesses from all over. And it would work without a doubt. You bring them in here, you advertise. Matter of fact, have anybody ever seen those commercials on TV where the governor get on TV and then they talk about come to Minnesota or whatever? Have you ever seen that kind of commercial before? It's the same thing we got to do here.
Okay. Thank you very much for those answers.
You're welcome.
Mayor Lyles.
Yes. The next question is question number 5. The city commission at times may make decisions that are unpopular with its residents. Pretty much a guarantee. How would you address these concerns?
Go to the community. You go directly to the community and listen. One thing about people, you gotta look them in the eye and go to them directly. You cannot be going outside and play, because if you don't do that, they're gonna talk. They're gonna carry on some awful. But if you go to them directly, look them in the eye, talk to them, and I guarantee you'll get a lot of response from them. And you ain't got to worry about it. But you got to go straight to them and talk to them directly.
All right. Can you give us examples of how you work and how you have worked collaboratively on a project or an issue?
Oh yeah, many times. I'm gonna give you for instance. I was commandant for the Puget Sound for the Marine Corps and Marine Corps League, and we had to raise money, to help our veterans out. And what we did was I created a softball game. Now this softball game had all the first responders at the fire department, the police department, Seattle Police Department, Seattle Fire Department. They all was there. Then I invited all the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. Bellevue Police was there also. And I called this game the softball game of heroes. We made a lot of money. But now these are police officers. And the Air Force didn't get along too well. Bellevue Police, they didn't get along too well. Because they both were very good at what they was doing out there on that softball field. And believe me, I thought they were going to tap it one time. We had to get the other police to stop the other police. But it was a great opportunity. We had a great time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What are the strengths you would bring to the city commission, and what are your weaknesses?
Mindset. Mindset is my strength. You got to be positive in everything that you do. Now, if you ain't positive, what do you have? You have nothing. I am not no weak man when it comes to doing stuff like this, Madam Commissioner. I believe in strength. I believe in you getting out there doing what you got to do. And now, one thing about me now, I'm not just talking. I go out there and I'll show you what I can do, because when I was out there fighting fires out at Mount Rainier, I was out there with them young boys, throwing that dirt around. Because the fact that, let me tell you a quick little story here. I was out there. We was digging a fire line, and one of the civilian young men, about 25 years old, one of my soldiers' tool broke. And when his tool broke, I told my soldier, I said, look, you go down there and you get you another tool and you move down. I told the young man to move down. You know what this boy did? This boy stood up and looked at me and said, who are you? Well, he soon found out who I was, because I put him in his place. You have to do things like that when you don't want to. And I'm not being rude or out the way or anything, but young men today need to know where they stand at, and not being, how can you say, I'm not being rude or out of the way. I'm just being a command sergeant major, and you have to do this in every way possible. You got to stand your ground, and this up here means everything.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'm going to ask you the final question. Is there anything else that you would like us to know? And do you have any questions of us?
Well, my strength is I'm very positive. I feel like nothing that I cannot do. And my weaknesses is I'm dyslexic, but it never stopped me from doing nothing that I want to do. Not anything. Now, I only been in Oregon City a short time. Madam Mayor has been here and worked in the city a short time, but she has made an amazing difference here, and she has. Now, the election was pretty close, but the voters can tell you one thing. They know what they want. By me and Madam Mayor on the same team together, I think we can move mountains. And I mean that with all my heart.
And I appreciate your comments, and I thank you. And at this point, I'll turn it back to Mayor Lyle Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. So you're our last interview for this evening. That's all of our questions. So I appreciate you taking the time to come and answer our questions. And you will be notified very quickly. We're hoping to make a decision tonight.
I appreciate y'all very much. And I hope I wasn't too abrupt on some of the things I was saying. And, that's why the Marine Corps has made me like this. So y'all blame the federal government on this now. Okay? Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that
So we had somebody drop out then?
we did.
Okay. I thought maybe it was just being reorganized. Okay.
No, applicant Betty Mom withdrew her application today. And so we rearranged the schedule to scoot people up so that we could move through the application process back to back to back. I see that City Manager Conkle has joined us. I think we should probably take a break. And Commissioner McGriff, did you want to say something? I'm thinking we should probably take like 5 or 10 minutes and let's review our notes, get a bite to eat, to, think about things. And then when we come back together after this recess, we can deliberate or not, or move forward with the process. Do you want to hear the process now before the break, or do you want to cover that after we take a short break?
I was just agreeing with you that I could use a break.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. We kind of missed dinner, so it's 7 o'clock. So do you want 5 minutes or 10 minutes? I can do either. I'm open to suggestions. Commissioner McGriff, you're muted.
It's muted on purpose. I'd actually like a little more than 10 minutes. But I'll bow to my fellow commissioners' wants and desires.
How much more than 10 minutes?
Yeah, how do you have a suggestion?
15 or 20, or what do you think?
15 minutes would be really nice.
Okay. All right, so any objections? I'm fine with 15 minutes. I do think it would be good for us to like take a break instead of we clear our minds and really think about the position and what we're looking for and review our notes. So it's good to kind of get some fresh air and think about that. All right, so it's my computer clock says it's 7:05. I think it's off by a couple minutes, but we'll say it's 7:05. So we'll come back together in 15 minutes, which would be 7:20. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll recess.
Thank you.
Frank, your screen froze.
He's back.
Just a minute.
What?
You're back.
Screen
You're good.
froze, but you're back now.
All I can say is thank goodness for microwaves and leftovers.
Testing my lighting. Turn the light on. I feel like I had a spotlight on me, so I think this works.
As long as it's not a hot one.
Okay, well, it looks like we have all of the commissioners back. So I will call the meeting back to order from our 15-minute recess. And maybe I'll turn it over to City Manager Conkle to explain your suggested process for the voting, since we are doing this for the first time in an electronic format. Normally we would be at the dais and have pieces of paper and pen. So Mr. Conkle.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening, commissioners. So yeah, historically when we would do this, the commission can determine whether they'd like to have any statements or discussion or debate. And then we would move to, traditionally when we're in person, writing down the top choice and handing it to the city recorder, who would then announce the result of that, whether there was a clear 3 choosing one candidate or how that broke down. So what we would propose tonight is similar, except for you would be emailing me the top choice, and then I would convey that back to the commission, and then, you know, depending on where we're at, we'll decide what the next steps are, whether that's additional deliberation or moving into more of a ranked vote. I think it'll really depend on what the results of this first round are.
Okay. I'm not sure if anybody has a deep desire for deliberation, or will you just jump in and see if we can get 3 votes right off the top with a top choice. But I'm open to, if commissioners, if you have something you'd like to say before we make our first vote, please raise your hand and let me know, either physically or via Zoom, to let me know if you have anything to say. Otherwise, we can move to a vote. Commissioner O'Donnell?
I think I just make a general statement. First, I would say that I agree with just making an initial vote and see where that takes us. But what the community needs to know is that we were presented with a wide range of talents tonight. A wide range. Some people were well-known, some were lesser known, some served, some didn't serve, some served in committees, some served as community activists. But our task is there's one task tonight, and that is to make the best choice for this community and this commission for this moment in time. And that's what I'll say, and I'll leave it at that. And with that, I'm ready to submit a name when so called upon.
Okay, I saw Commissioner Smith next. Raise your hand.
So I will agree with the comments from Commissioner O'Donnell, and I will say that I want all the candidates that applied to know that we don't take this lightly, and that those of you that don't get selected, or those of you that filed and don't get selected, that is that we want you to understand we want to continue your involvement in working with the city and encourage you to be involved in your community and keep being involved in your community. And so many of you have put in so many hours already. Encourage you to think about running for office in the future or getting involved in some other way in working with the commission or just involved in the community as a whole. But I agree, it's a little different kind of a process where we're really selecting the person that we each individually kind of think is the right for the moment. So hopefully we will know that. I don't know. I agree, we'll put the votes in, and if we're completely all on a different page when we get the votes back, then we'll have that discussion. But I have a feeling that it might be, we might be close to some agreement. When we get through this, we'll see.
All right, Commissioner McGriff.
I actually wrote some notes down for myself, and I started it out with let me be frank, but I decided I really can't be.
No, don't.
Don't be Frank.
Be Denise.
So I changed it to I'm very mindful. I'm very mindful that the complexion of our city is more diverse than ever in its people, its opinions, and geographically. And we have a variety of people in our community who've been here all their lives, or some people who just moved in yesterday. I also want the public to know that we are at a critical juncture in the timeline of our community. And as the newest commissioner, soon to not be the newest commissioner, I take this responsibility very seriously. As you all did, you selected me. And I again want to thank you for making that selection and for the opportunity that this has afforded me for Oregon City. Because for me, it's all about Oregon City. I am looking for a person who is thoughtful. And as I've said to all of you many times before, I'm interested in working with a team player. And I'm looking for somebody who is willing, and I say that, willing and able to do the work, because it is work with a capital W. And I would be remiss, my fellow commissioners and mayor, if I didn't say that I had wished for an applicant to come forth, more applicants to come forth who were people of color. And my particular desire was to add another woman to this group, but that was not meant to be. And I will take it to heart that we have some work to do as a community to help people understand that we want to hear all opinions. We're looking for gender balance. We're looking for many types of balances of all persuasions. And again, I want to tell you all that I couldn't be prouder than I am this moment to be able to serve with all of you. And while this is not about me, it is really about us. And I say that genuinely and from my heart, that it is about us and how we are going to work together to move this city forward. And I still remain really excited, although I have my days, as some of you know, but it's an opportunity. And I have so much hope in my heart and care and concern about this community that I know that we will all pick the right person. So thank you for the opportunity for me to just say a few things.
All right, so I really do appreciate all those comments. I think they were all really, really good and good for our community to hear. Just to be clear, we're appointing a person to the vacant position of position number 4. This will not be a new 4-year term. This is only filling the term for the position that I vacated. Yeah, you know, you guys said it all so well. So I don't you don't need to belabor this. I'm excited. Some of you have set us up to see if we can come up with the same person. I guess we'll see. Ought to be interesting. So I think we're ready to vote. So knowing that we could have multiple votes, I want to make it really clear and really easy for Mr. Conkle to make sure that everything is coming to his inbox really clearly. So let's do your email, put the subject line, put vote number 1 in the subject line in case we have multiple votes. That will help him keep, in the case we get to multiple votes, help him keep our emails together. And so please email Mr. Conkle now your top selection. We are truly testing technology.
It's already scaring me. There you go.
Yeah.
I was afraid I was just going to disconnect everything. So while he's tabulating, I'm just going to say, hi, Bob. Hope you're out there.
So thank you, commissioners. I received all 4 vote number 1s, and the number 1 choice of each commissioner was Mr. Adam Morrow. So congratulations there.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, we do need a motion to accept Adam Morrow as commission position number 4.
I'd like to move that we accept Adam Morrow as the official candidate and the one we selected for position number 4.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Jacob, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Denise McGriff,
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell,
Aye.
and Mayor Rachel Lyle Smith.
Aye. So I'm thrilled. I want to say congratulations to Adam Morrow. And we will be having an oath of office ceremony tomorrow at 5:30. We are moving very quickly into commission business. We have a lot going on. So Adam, I'm excited. I hope you're ready. You're going to have to jump in with 2 feet, and it's a lot of work, but clearly there's confidence in your ability to step in and represent a component of our community that isn't currently represented, the youth. And I'm excited about having that different perspective. And along with the other folks and the other commissioners who have commented, I really do appreciate everybody that took the time to apply and to give your time tonight and to answer our questions. I really, really do hope that you continue to participate with the city. Several of you commented about reaching out to the community and continuing to get input. I hope you realize it is challenging in today's, especially in today's climate, to get input from our community. So as much as you all can continue to participate, I sincerely hope that you will. And if you have a desire to run again, there'll be a new election in a couple of years. Commissioner McGriff.
I want to just append what you said. One of the best ways for people to get involved in their community is, let me put in a plug for the neighborhood associations. As the CIC representative, you as the former CIC representative, to me, that is really part of the core of our community. And it's one of the places people can get involved in all sorts of issues. And there's no end to the things that can be accomplished at that level. It's not that I'm discouraging people from any other levels, but you know, it's where you live. It's you're right there. So please get involved in your neighborhood association. I'll put in that plug.
All right. And
Before we adjourn, I have a burning question for Commissioner Smith, but other people might want to say something else.
well, I just want to add that we still have some vacancies on some other committees. So we are always looking for new folks to participate and provide input. And we're also going to be starting an arts commission here pretty soon. So we'll have a whole new commission of community members for the arts commission. So there's lots of ways to plug in. And I'm excited about the future and where we're going. Commissioner McGriff, do you have a question?
Oh, well, my burning question for Commissioner Smith is that since Mr. OC came up, were you ever Mr. OC?
No.
Well, it seems like there was an omission there somewhere.
That has been a nickname given to me by some of my friends, but that didn't exist at the high school when I was there. It was a long time ago when I was at school there.
Oh, it was not that long ago. So, and just for the record, because I'm totally against ageism. We do have somebody that is younger, and I mentioned at one of the meetings with Adam that I've lived in Oregon City longer than he has. And I said, well, but I consider myself young at heart, as I do all of you.
Commissioner Smith.
So I have a message for Adam. I'd like to congratulate Adam, which I'm sure we will do tomorrow night as well. And you said that you do your homework. Well, your first homework assignment is to start reading the budget, which I'm sure you've already started looking at that. So yeah, you'll have plenty of homework this weekend. So I also want to say I do appreciate this entire commission. The fact that we were all on the same page without having any conversations about it makes me really feel that we're a team, and we're a strong team, and we know kind of what is needed for the city right now. And I think sometimes just an example like tonight, how smooth that was, it says that we're making the right decision. And think back, that's been a long time since this community and this commission has been a whole. And so I think this is a good place. And I think a lot of us can really be excited about what's coming. I think this is an exciting time for Oregon City. So, be patient with all of us and understand that we are really doing what we think is the right thing for the city. And I think this is a solid commission. And I'm excited to work with all of you, and it'll be exciting to have a full commission, and it'll be exciting to actually have a first meeting in our new building at some point in the future. I have no idea when that's going to be, but when it happens, we should have a little bit of a celebration on that. So thank you for all your work.
For sure. Commissioner O'Donnell, you're the last one. Do you have any closing comments?
I guess I would simply say that I am confident that every member of this commissioner could verbalize the reasoning behind their choice. I know one of the applicants said something about filling a hole in the commission. I think this commission continues to be well balanced. I said it was strong. I now think it's stronger. Mr. Morrow brings some incredible skills, including the ability to take our arguments to Salem, which we currently don't do. And I just think that, as I said, if called upon, every one of us could verbalize the reasoning behind our choices. So congratulations to Mr. Morrow, and my thanks for working with such good co-commissioners and mayor. Thank you.
We lost Commissioner McGriff.
Yes, we did seem to lose Commissioner McGriff, perhaps her internet. So it's good that we've come to a conclusion. Mr. Conkle, I assume if you had something you wanted to say, you would be waving at me.
Yep, I think we're good to go unless anybody else has anything to add.
No.
We have our meeting It's 5 o'clock, 5:30 tomorrow, correct?
Right. Yep. We'll double check with Mr. Marl to make sure that works.
Okay, we will see you all tomorrow. This special meeting of the Oregon City Commission is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.